Welcome to Fiction Flux. This is part 2 of What If Female Deku Became the Most Feared Villain. If you thought part 1 was intense, wait until you see how this story unfolds. Don't miss the shocking ending. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and show your support for the amazing original author behind this incredible tale. Your engagement keeps us going and brings more epic content to life. Now, let's get started. It had been 2 days since the entrance exam to UA. Izumi had just finished her daily training and was back in the lab, tinkering with her gadgets as usual. Meanwhile, I was in the training room, throwing punches at a dummy and refining my fighting skills when Kurogiri's voice echoed from the doorway. "Ah, Fen, I thought you might still be here. Could you come down to the bar, please?" I wiped the sweat off my face and glanced his way. "Sure, let me grab Izumi first." "No need," Kurogiri replied, shaking his head slightly. "She's already downstairs." I nodded and told him I'd be there shortly. After changing into a fresh shirt, I headed to the bar, curiosity brewing in my mind. When I arrived, I saw Izumi sitting at the counter with Master. Master had a sly grin on his face, holding 2 sealed envelopes. It didn't take long for me to figure out what they were. "Are those RUA letters?" I asked, a twinge of excitement creeping into my voice. Master chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down most people's spines. "Indeed. Would you like to open them?" Izumi and I exchanged a glance and nodded eagerly. She went first, tearing the envelope open to reveal a small device. Placing it on the counter, it activated with a soft hum, projecting a hologram of none other than All Might. "Greetings, Mrs. Midoriya." All Might's booming voice filled the room, and I noticed Master's expression twist into one of disdain at the sight of the hologram. All Might continued, "I am pleased to inform you that you achieved a perfect score on the written exam and an extraordinary 59 points in the practical exam for defeating robots. Additionally, you earned 64 rescue points for saving lives and demonstrating remarkable teamwork. Your bravery and quick thinking, especially when saving Mrs. Uraraka, were outstanding. Your performance shattered records, securing you a spot in Class 1A. Welcome to UA High School." As the hologram shut off, Izumi and I exchanged a triumphant smile. I wasted no time opening my own letter, only to receive similar news. My score for defeating robots was 65, while my rescue points stood at 63. It didn't matter, we both got in. But as we celebrated quietly, we knew this wasn't just about joining UA. It was about tearing apart the false ideals of heroism from the inside. Soon, the hero's reputation would crumble, and the world would see the truth. First day at UA. I woke up early, ready to face our first day. Izumi, already in her uniform, was adjusting her skirt with a frown. "Ah, this thing is way too short." "Leggings it is," she muttered before turning to wake me. "Fen tilde wake up," she said softly. I groaned and pulled the sheet over my head, earning a sigh from her. "Come on, Fen. I'll make breakfast while you get dressed, okay?" After a quick breakfast and some final preparations, we left the hideout, walking side by side to UA. The anticipation hung thick in the air. When we arrived, students immediately began whispering as we passed through the hallways. Their curious and wary gazes didn't faze us. We were used to being the center of attention, whether for admiration or fear. Outside Class 1A, we spotted Uraraka giving herself a pep talk. Izumi approached her first. "Hey, Uraraka," she said with a small smile. Uraraka jumped slightly before turning to face us. "Oh, hi, Midoriya." "Hi, Fen." She waved nervously. "Please, call me Izumi," Izumi corrected her gently. Uraraka's cheeks flushed as she looked down. "I just wanted to thank you both for saving me during the exam. I wouldn't have made it without you." "You're welcome," Izumi replied warmly. "And since we saved each other, let's just call it even." "Oh, that reminds me." Uraraka perked up. "That move you did with your arms, was that your quirk?" Before Izumi could answer, I chimed in. "Actually, those were part of the robotic gloves she designed herself." "Wait, you made those?" Uraraka asked, her eyes wide with amazement. Izumi giggled. "I'll explain later. Let's get to class first." The moment we stepped into Class 1A, we were swarmed by students. "How did you take down 6 robots at once? Was that a wolf quirk?" What was that flaming bow and arrow move? The questions came from every direction, and I was about to respond when a sharp voice cut through the noise. Enough already. Take your seats. Everyone froze and turned to see a scruffy man in black clothing, Eraserhead. He glanced at us with tired eyes and added, "Introduce yourselves, and don't bother me." As introductions began, I couldn't help but notice the variety of quirks and personalities around us. When it was Izumi's turn, she stood confidently, her voice steady as she spoke. "Hello, my name is Izumi Midoriya, but you can call me Deku or Izumi. I'm 16 years old, and I have 3 quirks: Soul's Weapon, Immortality, and Wolf Charge." The room fell silent, jaws dropping at her declaration. Even Bakugo, glaring at her from across the room, seemed momentarily stunned. I stood next. "Name's Fenikusu Dorgan, but call me Fen. I'm 17, and my quirk is Phoenix Hunter." The silence lingered for a moment before the students erupted in curiosity again, crowding our desks. "How does immortality work? Can you really transform into a wolf? What exactly is Phoenix Hunter?" Izumi and I exchanged a knowing glance. This was going to be a long day. "Please, one question at a time." They all agreed and they asked Fen the first question. "Why are you wearing a mask? Is it part of your quirk?" Fen shook his head and replied to them, "No, I actually wear this mask because it helps me speak because I'm mute." Everyone was shocked and surprised. They didn't actually think Fen was mute. They then asked the second question. "Did you make that mask?" "I don't think I ever seen anything like it." Fen simply chuckled at them and looked at me and replied to them, "Actually, Izumi herself made this for me when we were kids. She's amazing with tech." Everyone looked at me with shocked looks at their faces. Eraserhead heard this, but continued to stay in his sleeping bag but continued to listen. Then they asked me the next question. "Did you really make that mask?" I smirked a bit and replied to them, "Yup, had a gift for it since I was 5, and if you're wondering, yes, the gloves I used to save Uraraka was made by me and were made to increase strength. They can extend and the size of them can increase, and the boots I'm wearing right now were also made by me. They have a magnetic wave that can stick to any type of metal with my control, and they can do more, but I'll save those for a surprise." They were all shocked, and their jaws were wide open. They continued to ask a lot of other questions like how our quirks work and how we were so good at using them. When they were done, Eraserhead got out of his sleeping bag and told us to change into our PE uniform. We all go change. When I started to change, all the girls were staring at me. This was starting to get ridiculous and I quickly finished changing. I put my gloves on and go out and started walking to the field outside. As soon as I got out, I see Fen and asked him if the boys were staring at his 8th pack, and yes, Fen has an 8-pack. He looked at some of the boys whose faces were a little red and looked back at me and whispered, "Only a few." I smiled and started teasing him a bit. "Well, on the bright side, you have a few admirers now." "Haha, very funny," Fen said, rubbing his hand in my hair. As soon as the rest of the girls got here, we started the class. Eraserhead picked up a ball and started explaining. "Alright, class 1, want you to throw the ball as hard as you can while using your quirk, and whoever has the lowest score will immediately expelled." Everyone was scared on what Eraserhead just said, but me and Fen knew he was joking. We had the highest score in the exam. Kachan was up first and Eraserhead gave him the ball. Kachan used his quirk on the ball and said something like, "Die." He threw the ball and Eraserhead pulled out a monitor. 705.6 meters, he said while showing us. Fen was up next and brought out his flaming bow and arrow out. He grabbed the ball and threw it in the air. He used his bow and arrow to shoot the ball higher and higher up in the sky. Fen is quite the sharpshooter. After he was done, Eraserhead looked at the monitor and showed it to us. 1059.6 meters. Fen was sweating a bit and I saw some of the boys covering the faces because they were blushing so hard I couldn't help but laugh a little, while I saw 2 of them nose bleeding and trying to make it stop. As for the girls, their faces were completely red. I hear my name being called up and I grab the ball. I turn on my glove and boots on. I threw the ball in the air and I punch it, making go up in the air. I use Soul's Weapon to pull out a purple grenadine thanks to Kurogiri. I throw it at the ball and I use Wolf Charge and my boots to increase my jumping ability, and I go high up in the air. I use Soul's Weapon to use a part of my soul and bring out my SYCTHE. I hit and it goes higher and higher and I start to slowly go down. I landed safely on the ground and put away my SYCTHE. Everyone's jaws are dropped down again, even Kachan did too, some were even blushing as I put my hair on my shoulder. Eraserhead looked at the monitor and showed it to the class. 1060.9 meters. No one knew what to say. I waked up to Kachan to close his open mouth. What do you think of me now, Kachan? I'm not that weak little girl anymore. I say, patting him on the shoulder. Everyone starts staring at him. I walk back to my place and I stand next Fen and said, beat ya with 1 point. Fen giggled a bit and replied, let's see how we both do at the next one. After we watched the rest of the students, Mineta had the lowest score. He was scared of getting expelled, and Eraserhead comes clean. I was actually joking about expelling whoever had the lowest score. But I only did it to let out your full potential. What? Everyone was both mad and glad. Mineta was mostly happy because he wasn't going to get expelled. Though I noticed a boy with red and white hair was staring at me. He quickly turned away when I noticed him. He had a scar on the left side of his face. I knew he was an Endeavor's son. His name is Shoto Todoroki. He also seemed interesting though. Katsuki's Pav. Izumi has changed so much. She's not that sweet and innocent little girl anymore, though her love for science hasn't changed. She always loved reading about robotics and science and wanted to not only be a scientist but a hero too, and it's probably my fucking fault she ran away. I couldn't blame her. I was horrible to her. I was her former best friend after all. She wanted to be the first quirkless hero, but I was scared because I thought I would lose her. I wanted her to stay by my side and I didn't want her to get hurt, but I ended up being the one to hurt her. She disappeared on her birthday and I her bullied more than I should have. I was going to apologize and give her a book about robotics for her birthday. But when she ran away I changed a bit. I stopped bullying, but my rude attitude was something I could never get rid of. Before Izumi and her weird mute friend came back from changing, everyone came up to me and asked me some question. What do you know about Izumi? What did she mean when she said, she's not that weak little girl anymore? Why did she call you Kachan? This was getting me pissed off and I had no choice but to yell at them. Will you shut the fuck up already? If I tell you how I know Deku, will you stop with the questions? Everyone was quiet and nodded. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose, and started explaining. Izumi and I were childhood friends and our parents knew each other and we lived in the same neighborhood. I gave her the nickname Deku and she gave the nickname Kachan. Izumi never really had a dad in her life, so we played almost every day. When I found out she was quirkless, or in her case a late bloomer, everyone in our school started bullying her. Even me. On the day of her 6th birthday I wanted to apologize for the way I was treating her, but she ran away. Everyone in our neighborhood started looking for her, even a few pro heroes did too, but a few weeks later everyone just stopped. Everyone except her mother, my parents and me. I finished not being proud of what I did. Everyone was quiet. I walked past them and go back to my seat. Next thing I knew, Fen came back and took his seat. I knew he was probably Izumi's closest friend and I couldn't help but feel a bit jealous. Fen's Pav. I walk back to class 1A and I overhear a few questions by the door, and I hear the nickname Kachan. I decided to eavesdrop on the conversation and hear what he has to say. When he was finished I was a little bit shocked on the fact Izumi never telling me the fact that her bully was actually her childhood friend. I was really surprised when he said he wanted to apologize to her. But I can tell she hated Bakugo with all her heart, and I decided not to tell her about this. I go in pretending I didn't hear anything and go to my seat. I couldn't help feel bad for Izumi. She went through the exact amount pain I did when I was abused, but I had to stay focused on the plan. Everything will be better soon and everyone will soon no longer be treated worthless. Izumi, Pav. Me and Fen were thinking of what to do since class 1A had we a free period. I thought for a while and I bump into midnight. I quickly apologized and decided to ask if there was robotics workshop. She pointed us to which way we should go and we thanked her and we walk away. When we got there, the door exploded out of its hinges and straight to the wall. Fen and I ran to the smoking room and Fen yelled out, "Hey, are you okay in there?" The smoke clears up and we see a girl with pink hair. She had a pair of weird goggles on her face. She was sitting on the floor. She wasn't wearing the UA uniform and she looked about my age. Cough, cough. Sorry about that. I made a mistake when I made my babies. Okay, to be clear, she calls her inventions her babies. I don't know why. Okay, so just deal with it. Here, let me help you up, I said, grabbing her hands and bringing her back on her feet. Thanks, I'm May Hatsume, but you can call me May, and you are? She said as she cleaned the dust on her clothes. I'm Izumi Midoriya, but I prefer to be called Izumi or Deku, and this is my friend Fenikusu Dorgan. But you can call him Fen for short, I said, looking around at the robotics workshop. Oh, so you're the two I've been hearing about in the school? She said. We looked at each other with confusion, so Fen asked her, what do you mean? Well, duh, the whole school has been talking about the two students who crushed the competition in the exam. I didn't believe at first, but when I heard the part about giant metal hands, that was the part that really fascinated me. She said, looking like a fangirl. You must be talking about my gloves, I say, reaching into my backpack and showing them to her. Wow, did you make those yourself? She asked, jumping up and down. I smiled and explained what my gloves can do. Yeah, they're made to increase anyone's strength, the size of them can increase as well, and they can extend about 5 feet. So cool, can I try them on? She kinda reminds me of me when I was little, so I said yes. Yay, can you help me put them on? I don't know how they work exactly. I help her put the gloves on and I start explaining them to her. She tried to understand it as much as she can and says, okay, so I just push this button and, no wait, don't. Before I could tell her not to push the button, she pushes it and the arms hit the ground, they start to extend, they bring her high up the ceiling, and she started to panic a little. How do I get down? She yelled, closing her eyes shut tight. Hold on, I'll help you, I yell, then I tap the heel of my boots on the floor, rockets come out them, and they start to fly me up to her. She was in awe at my boots, but I had to get her down first. Okay Fen, I'm going to release her and she's going to fall down, so I want you to catch her when she does, I said, and Fen gives me a thumbs up. Okay, on the count of 3 I'm going to release you from the gloves and Fen is going to catch, alright? She nods and gets ready. Okay, 1, 2, 3. She falls down and Fen catches her right on time. You alright? I ask, turning off my gloves and going back down. She opens her eyes and quickly responds, yeah, I'm good, thanks to your friend. Fen puts her down. I start to explain what the button does. Wow, so your boots can turn into rocket boots. Tell me more about your boots and other inventions. We spent the whole hour talking about our inventions and our interests. Okay, so you're in class 1H and your quirk is Zoom. That's pretty cool, I say, sitting on a table, surprised she's not in class 1B. She tweaks her newly prepared invention and says, well, it's not as cool like you and Fen, you both have the coolest quirks and you're both in class 1A and I'm so jealous. Fen pats her back, says, don't worry, you'll reach your full potential soon, maybe you can be a robotics engineer. Thanks Fen. She smiles at Fen. I still can't believe you made that mask for him when you were only 7, that's really amazing. I smile at her and reply, thanks, I've always loved science and robotics. Ever since I was 4 it was always so fascinating, the limit is endless when it comes to science. Her smile then disappeared and I ask her what's wrong. It's nothing, it's just, as a supporting agent there's always a limit to science, and I never get to go beyond that limit. Me and Fen looked at each other and I had an idea. You know where we come from, there is no limit to anything. She looks up and looks at me confused. If you want to go beyond that limit, you can come with us on Friday this week. But that decision is yours to make, let us know when you're ready. I look at the clock and realize it's almost time for our next class. Well, we best be off, our next class is about to start. Let's meet at lunch tomorrow, K. Bye May, I say while waking out and waving at her and Fen following behind me. Okay, bye Deku, she said, waving back at me. As soon as me and Fen leave the robotics workshop, Fen then asks me something. Why did you tell her that? She'll get suspicious and might do a background check on us. Relax, her soul color is yellow, so she won't be that suspicious and she definitely won't do a background check or anything like that. Plus she has more potential as a villain than a hero, and I have a feeling we're going to get along just fine with her. I say, thinking that May and I are going to great things together. Oh, by the way, do you know Endeavor's son? I think his name is Shoto. I ask, walking to our class. You mean the guy that was staring at you during the ball game thing? What about him? He said, getting a little angry. Fen has always been like an older brother and he likes to protect me a lot. Well, the guy has 2 quirks and he seems interesting, plus his scar looks like a fire burn and I'm guessing he got abused, but I can't say for sure, so let's get to know him first at lunch. Alright, I asked, looking at Fen, who was thinking for a minute, and finally replied. Alright, let's know if he got abused or not, and who knows, maybe we might have common interest with him. He says, looking at me with his ember eyes. Then it's settled, we'll tell master we will recruit some new members from the prestigious UA. I said with a bit of an evil tone in my voice. Todoroki's paw. Ever since I could remember, I always felt cold inside. I never felt that warm you feel inside from anyone, other than my mother, and it's all thanks to the man I hate the most, my father. He abused me my whole life, he never gave me a choice in my life. I didn't even want to go to UA, but my father made me take the entrance exam. He even said if I didn't go or if I failed, he'd do something horrible to my sister, and I couldn't let that happen. When I passed the exam, father was pleased. When my class started, no one really interested me, but one person's name caught my attention, Izumi Midoriya. She had long, messy dark green hair that reached up to her waist. Her eyes were also dark green. She had 3 quirks. I was glad I wasn't the only one with more than 1 quirk. Still, something about her made me happy. I was sitting at cafeteria eating my lunch alone, when I hear someone's voice. Hey, can we sit here? I look up and see a pair of dark green eyes. I see Izumi, and Fen was standing next to her. She seemed nice, so I said, sure. She smiles at me and they both sit down and she says, thanks. Your endeavor's son, right? It must be awesome to have a dad like him. I try to keep calm and try to find the words to say, and I rub the back of my neck. Yeah, he's my father, but I don't really like to talk about him much. Izumi and Fen look at each other and Fen says, hey, we get it, you don't wanna talk about him, but can you at least tell us how you got that scar on your face? I looked away with a cold face and I stayed silent, not wanting to tell them it was father who gave it to me, and Izumi speaks up. Hey, if it's okay, I want to show you something. She rolls up her sleeve and I see multiple scars on her arm. How did you get those? I asked, looking at the scars, and they looked really old. I got it before I had my quirk. I always got bullied because people thought I was quirkless, and my mom never really knew about it because I always use my uniform to hide it. She said, pulling her sleeve back down and then looking at Fen. Your turn. He tries his best to show me something on his chest. I see scars and bruises on his chest. And he had the courage to finally speak. I got abused ever since I was 3. Both my parents are pro heroes, so everyone thought they loved me. Well, they were wrong. They were very abusive to me. They would hit me, give me bruises almost every day. I sometimes went to bed hungry at night. I tried telling people, but I'm mute, and even if I did tell someone, no one would believe me since some of the scars disappeared due to my quirk. They never really showed it at public because they thought it would ruin their image. When he was done, he hid his scars so no one else could see them. I'm so sorry you both had to go through that. I say, looking at them with sympathy. Izumi swallows her food and speaks up. It's okay, no one can choose what life we get. But scars can also remind you that you survived. I look at her and Fen, and I was actually relieved I wasn't the alone in this. I gathered enough courage and start to tell them. I actually got my scar from my father. He abused me and my family, our whole life. He nearly made my mother insane, which got her hospitalized, abused all my siblings, made me train every day after school. He made me take the entrance to UA. He said if I didn't take it, he would hurt my sister, and the worst part, he made my oldest brother run away when I was still just a kid. At that point, a tear fell from my face, and the next thing I knew, I felt arms being wrapped around me and realized Izumi was hugging me tight, and for the first time in years I felt the warmth I haven't felt in a long time. Izumi's paw. After Todoroki finished, I could see a tear fall on his face. I stood up and hugged him. He didn't feel cold like I was expecting. He was actually really warm. Even if I was at the left side of him, he felt really warm, like nothing I ever felt before. After we were all done with our lunch, Fen then asked him, I hope you don't mind me asking this, but what is the name of your oldest brother? He made a small smile on his face. His name is Dabi Todoroki, but that's name he wanted. He never liked his original name. I haven't seen him in a long time. I would do anything to see him again. When I heard his name, I remembered hearing Master say that name. He said we would get new members soon. Hey, maybe one of these days you get to see him. Fen replied, unaware of the fact he is going to be the newest member of LOV, but I'll wait and surprise him with it. Maybe Shoto could actually join us. But that's his decision to make. Till then I'm going to see where this leads us. Azumi's paw. It was Thursday, and we were walking to UA. I was more happy today because I told Master our plan to recruit some of the students in UA. He agreed to it. He said we can take about 3 people only. I was happy because I could convince May to become a villain. She's better off as a villain than a hero. While we were walking, we see Shoto outside the gate. He looked like he was waiting for us. Hey Shoto, I called out. He looks at me and smiles. Oh hey Deku, hey Fen. I quickly give him a hug so I can feel his warmth. Okay, let's get to class before we're all late, he said, looking at me with his lovely 2-colored eyes. When we went inside, we notice everyone is staring at us again and start to whisper something. Me and Fen overhear some of them and they were very unpleasant. Do you think Todoroki-kun is dating Midoriya? Did you see how he smiled when she hugged him? I don't think anyone has ever seen him smile. Todoroki-kun never lets anyone hug him. She's really lucky. I wish I could hug Todoroki-kun too. I sighed and apologized to Shoto about the attention and rumors. He said he didn't mind and said he was used to the attention and rumors. I smiled at him and we all continued to walk to Class 1A. We get inside Class 1A and notice everyone was staring at us again. This was getting old, so we all take our seats and I make sure not to go anywhere near that purple pervert. Eraserhead came in and started announcing something. Okay class, today we will be practicing on the field with someone you already know. He looked at the door and rest of the students followed. We see a man at the door with huge grin on his face, and everyone knew who it was. Hello Class 1A, it is I, All Might. Almost half of the class got up their seat and went to greet All Might. Now students, settle down now, he asked. As everyone went back to their seat, All Might cleared his throat and spoke to the class. Alright everyone, today we will be doing a practice outside today. Everyone cheered and was excited, but All Might wasn't done there yet. But before we can do so, you'll all need your hero suits. He brings out a remote and pushes a button. We all hear a loud sound coming from the back. We see rows of costumes at the back and we were all amazed. I think I'll keep this when I go back to being a villain, I thought to myself. When I was done, I bring out my wolf ears and tail, I tie my hair into a ponytail, I put on my boots and my gloves, and I head outside. A few people were staring at me and I may have winked at them, causing them to blush. When I got outside, I see Fen in his hero suit. It was fireproof just like mine. He was wearing a red sleeveless shirt with a bit of gold on the collar. It also had 2 sized holes for his phoenix wings. He had black pants, a special headset for his bat ears, and he was wearing red and black boots. They did a good job with your suit, I said, looking at the design. He looked at my costume. Thanks, they did a great job with yours too. Just then we hear Uraraka's voice. Hey Azumi, hey Fen. We see her in her hero suit. It was pink and black. It kinda looked a spacesuit. Wow, your costume looks great, she complimented, looking at our costumes with amazement. Thanks, yours looks great too, I said, returning the compliment. Ah, your ears look so fluffy. Can I touch them? Please Tilda, she asked, really wanting to feel them. Okay, I say, feeling like I'm going to regret this. Her eyes sparkled and she jumped. Yay, she immediately touches them and they move a little. Ah, so cute. After what felt like an hour, we waited for the rest of students to get here, and All Might started counting us all. He frowned a bit. Well, this is a bit of a problem. I was planning to put you all in groups of 5, but before he could finish, Fen spoke up. Excuse me All Might, but if it is fine, me, Izumi and Uraraka can be of group 3. All Might thought for a moment and smiled to the idea. Alright then, if that is okay with you, then I'll group the rest of the teams. Team 1, Katsuki Bakugo, Tenya Lida, Yuga Aoyama, Rikido Sato, Eijiro Kirishima. Team 2, Shoto Todoroki, Momo Yaoyorozu, Hanta Siro, Mezzo Shoji, Fumikage Tokoyami. Team 3, Minoru Mineta, Koji Koda, Asuji Taiyusu, Mina Ashindo, Hanta Siro. Team 4, Fenikusu Dorgan, Izumi Midoriya, Okaka Uraraka. Team 5, Kyoko Jiro, Denki Kaminari, Rikundo Sato, Toru Hagakuri, Mashirao Ojiro. After he was done, he started explaining what we were going to do. Today we will be doing heroes versus villains. Team 4 will play as heroes and Team 1 will play as villains. Team 1 has to protect the bomb inside the building, and Team 4 will play as heroes and their objective is to get the bomb before time runs out. The heroes won't know where the bombs is placed, only the villains will know. Are there any questions now? When he was done he told the villains where the bomb was placed and we got to our positions and we discussed the plan, although Uraraka had some doubts and said, "Are you guys sure you made the right decision with me? I even couldn't save myself from the robots." "Of course we did and you'll be fine," I said, trying to giving her some confidence. She smiled and nodded to me. "Okay, since your Quirk can only make things flout, you'll have to find the bomb while we distract the rest of the team. They will obviously have someone watching the bomb, so once me and Fen take down Team 1, we will help you, understand?" I said, making sure they understood every detail of the plan. They nodded as a reply and we all get ready. I notice Kachan was glaring at me again, but this time with worry, which is strange because he never worries about anything. I brush it off and wait for the horn to blow. I first see Kachan and 3 others outside the building. I told Uraraka to go and look for the bomb inside. She ran as fast as she can but was blocked by Sato and was about to attack her. Fen opened a portal, one up in the air, and one on the ground where Sato was standing, and kept falling over and over again. "Get me out of here," he said, falling down from the portal repeatedly. Uraraka continued to run and look for the bomb inside. "Hey Fen, Kachan and I have some unfinished business. Think you can handle the other 2? I said, getting ready to use my quirk. He laughed. 2 agents, 1. This is going to be easy," he said, cracking his knuckles and bring out his flaming daggers. "Hey Kachan, over here you sweaty pig," I yelled out, trying to get his attention, and it worked. He did have a short temper. He chases after me and Fen took on the other 2. Kachan lets out some explosions and I quickly dogged it by doing a few backflips. "What the hell happened to you for the last fucking 10 years, where have you been?" he yelled out. "Inko was worried sick when you didn't come home that day, everyone was looking for you," he shouted out. One of his explosions hit me and I start flying into a wall. A few of my ribs broke and my ankle was sprained. Luckily I felt only very little pain thanks to my immortality, but it would take some time to heal. I had to stall him long for them to heal. Then I got an idea. "I told you before, that is none of your business, Kachan. I simply started a new life. Somewhere I thought I would never have to see you again. I found people that actually cared about me during my time away. They didn't care if I was quirkless or not. They made me the person I am today. Unlike you," I yelled, trying not show any pain I had. He froze at my words. I smirked and continued. "You were my best friend, the only friend I had as a kid. You were my idol for almost everything. You said you would always be my friend no matter what, yet you became like everyone else. You betrayed me, hurt me in many ways than I can count, just because I was quirkless. Do you have any idea what it was like being alone all the time? Feeling like no one in the world would care for a quirkless girl like me?" His face went completely pale when I said that. I got up and smiled. "You said you wanted to become a hero, right?" By that time my injuries were fully healed. I secretly tapped the heel of my boots to ground to increase my speed. I got ready to use Wolf Charge and Soul's weapon. Well, a real hero would never hurt anyone. I come at him with a white wooden katana, thanks to Uraraka, and go full speed on him. He quickly dodged my attacks and I notice he was getting slower and slower by each attack. I use Wolf Charge again to go faster. I sneak behind him and hit him at the back of the head, causing him to go unconscious. I wrap him in the tape All Might gave us, making him automatically disqualified. I walk up to Fen to see that he was tying up the other 2. They were still conscious but their bodies were completely numbed. I'm guessing he was able to find their weak point. He snaps his fingers and the portal, where Sato was still falling into, finally came to a stop. He landed so hard on the ground, he went unconscious. We didn't have to worry about him. The speed he went through was enough for him to go unconscious for hours. Fen's paw. We run inside the building. Izumi presses the communication device she had in her ear, and contacted Uraraka. "Uraraka, where are you?" she asked as we run up the stairs as fast as we can. Uraraka responded with a low voice. "I'm at the 4th floor. I found the bomb but Lita is watching it." "Good, we'll be there in 1 minute," I said using the headset I got for my ears. As we were running I remember overhearing Izumi's conversation with Bakugo. I never seen her that upset before. She was really hurt on he did to her. I planned to ask her about this later, after the test was done. We arrive in time and see Uraraka floating in the air. Lita couldn't catch her since she was floating. He then sees us and comes after us on full speed. I opened a portal and send him outside the building. Uraraka comes down and we all touch the bomb. Team 4 has won the battle. We hear All Might's voice. We helped Team 1 get to the infirmary. I apologize to Aoyama and Kirishima for numbing their bodies. After we were done we head to the control room only to find everyone staring at specifically Izumi. She sighed and said, "Okay, if you're wondering, yes, I'm the girl that ran away 10 years ago." What I said back there was all true, but that does mean you should hate Kachan. And no, I'm not going to see my mother after 10 years. She finishes taking a seat and I sit next to her. Everyone was quiet and didn't say a word. They continued the rest of the battles. None of them interested me, until Shoto's battle came up. His battle only lasted minutes. I was really impressed by his fighting technique. All Might allows us to change and eat our lunch since it took all morning to finish. Narrators Pav, Izumi, Fen, and Shoto were the first ones to leave the control room. I can't believe young Midoriya is the child that ran away 10 years ago, All Might said in disbelief. Eraserhead pinched the bridge of his nose. No wonder she looked so familiar. She's Inko's daughter. She didn't stop crying for days, and kept blaming herself for not knowing what her daughter was going through. The students were talking among themselves. Have you all noticed that Fen and Izumi are always close to each other? Momo said. Everyone thought for a while and Kaminari said, now that you mentioned it, they go everywhere together except when one of them go to the bathroom or to go change. They all stare at him when Uraraka speaks. Izumi told me, Fen has always been like an older brother to her, and that they live together. Everyone was silent for a minute and another person spoke. That does explain something. When I was staring at Izumi, Fen noticed me and he was glaring at me in a really scary way. Everyone looks at each other and continued to talk about the strange two. It was true that the two lived together and treated each other like siblings, but what Class 1A didn't know was that they are an unstoppable team together. They can take out an entire army of heroes without a scratch on their bodies. Everyone decided to change, eat their lunch, and maybe ask some questions about Izumi and Fen's past. This for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Read full story from the given link below in the description box.